Hello, this year I have the privilege of having probably the kindest chair, so I'm going to use it, as you understand. Again, as I've done in the past, Deborah. So the story of heated tobacco products is quite an old story. It started somewhere in the 90s with R.J. Reynolds and Premier, a total disaster. Replaced next by Eclipse, another type of a disaster. Basically a carbon tip tobacco product that didn't work very well, had a very bad taste. There was an increase in carbon monoxide in users after use. And it was, as you can see here, with carbon monoxide, and it was basically unacceptable by smokers. So irrespective of any harm reduction effects, if smokers don't want to use them, there's going to be no public health effect. But then we have heated tobacco products, and I want to clarify that if we don't want this presentation to be a PMI advertisement, I would welcome the other companies who are developing or producing such products to release some data. Ideally through a publication, but if not, they can send an email. I'm not biting through emails. IQOS by Philip Morris, with more than 10 years development and several $1 billion investment. Probably it's growing, the investment, as we move forward. Some extensive pre-market testing and a lot of publications, available in probably more than 20 markets today. But we have products from other manufacturers too, like Plume from JTI and Glow from BAT. Currently, I think most, if not both of them, only in Japan, but I expect them to expand. So the IQOS is basically a battery device which looks like a second-generation e-cigarette, a power bank, and a tobacco stick which looks like a short cigarette rod. And it uses some electronics and metal plate which acts as a resistance and delivers heat in a controlled way. You can control the temperature, and that's what is happening. Instead of combustion, we have heating of the tobacco and release of the humidity and the glycerol that contains. So that was what they got from the e-cigarette. Glycerol is one of the main ingredients in e-cigarettes, and that's the main reason for the visual aspect. It is growing in Japan. I'm not sure that it's growing at the same rate in other countries, probably not. Mainly for all countries, Japan has been the testing ground. And of course, Japan don't have any cigarettes, and they have a little bit of free market in terms of tobacco promotion, so you can see what kind of stores are selling these products, which I'm not sure you will find in Europe, neither today or in the future. But the lack of competition from other harm reduction products makes Japan an ideal country to market these products as a starting point. So the characteristics of IQOS is that it contains tobacco. It is basically a short tobacco cigarette, but there is no combustion until we verify that the carbon monoxide levels are low or high, but we don't know what's going on. The battery lasts about 6 minutes, of which 20 seconds are needed to warm up the device, because the device continuously heats the tobacco stick. It's not like the e-cigarette, which is activating and generating energy and producing heat only when you push the button. IQOS is continuously heating the tobacco stick when in use, when it's switched on. So basically, use time is about 5.5 minutes. You can use it for up to 14 puffs. So even if you want to take 14 puffs in 1 minute, it's going to shut off automatically. Data from Philip Morris, and that's one of the main issues, that the data are coming in 99% of cases from the manufacturer only. But this is for the use in the population. They show a very high conversion rate of about 70% converted to almost exclusive, because 95% is not exclusive, almost exclusive IQOS use. Recently, we did a study about e-cigarettes in Greece. We had a conversion rate in the survey of 62%, so we are very close. Nicotine delivery to the aerosol. It's an important question. Leon said that it's equally effective. Yes, it's equally effective, but you need to increase your consumption compared to a cigarette to get the same amount of nicotine, because the delivery to the aerosol is lower compared to a tobacco cigarette when used under the same puffing patterns. And it's somewhat expected. The tobacco stick has about 1/3 the amount of tobacco from of the tobacco cigarette, but at the same time there is no combustion, and you know that through combustion most of the nicotine is destroyed. The delivery of the aerosol can be adjusted, so by taking more puffs or by increasing the puff volume, but under ISO conditions, as you can see, it's more similar to light cigarettes as we remember them. We did a study which is, has been accepted in press by Nicotine and Tobacco Research. And what we did, and I didn't see any data from Philip Morris on that, is we measured the concentration of nicotine in the unused tobacco stick. And we found that it was about 15 milligrams per gram of tobacco, so not 15 milligrams in the stick, 15 milligrams per gram, which is the same as you can see in conventional cigarettes. It means that they are not doing any sneaky moves like adding more nicotine into the tobacco. So it is normal tobacco as you find in tobacco cigarettes. We also compared the delivery to the aerosol between IQOS and 3 types of e-cigarette products. A first generation, a Ciga-like. You can see also the brands. A second generation, which was an Ego battery with a simple clearomizer. And the third generation, which was a variable wattage battery at low power settings of 8 watts. And we used 2 puffing patterns, but not ideal for IQOS, because the difference between the puffing patterns was only in the puff duration, while we maintained the same puff volume. So the prolonged puff duration regime had a lower puff airflow rate. As you can see, unlike e-cigarettes with IQOS, there is no change in nicotine delivery when you change the puff duration only, but keep the same total puff volume. So the levels were pretty similar in the 2-second and 4-second puff duration regime, about 1.4 milligrams of nicotine. Health Canada Intense was the 2-second regime, so 55 milliliter volume, 2-second puffs and 30 seconds inter-puff interval. The e-cigarettes delivered less nicotine at the 2-second puff duration, but the second and especially the third generation device delivered more at the 4-second puff duration. There is a basic difference in the functional characteristics of the 2 products. So the IQOS is continuously being heated. So what matters is a change in the puff volume. With e-cigarettes, you don't have any effect of a change in the puff volume. You need more time or more power in order to increase the total energy delivery to the atomizer, which will result in more aerosol production and nicotine delivery. So with these setups and with these devices, those were the results. Of course, depending on the functional characteristics and the performance characteristics of the device, of the e-cigarette, you're going to see different results. Now, in terms of toxins, it seems to be cleaner. You basically expect that because of the lack of combustion. Data from PMI again. Here is a list of several HPHCs that were tested, and that's the proportion present in IQOS compared to tobacco cigarettes. And as you can see, in most cases, it's quite low levels. Aldehydes, cresols, volatile organic carbons, nitrosamines, a lot of data from Philip Morris. And here is a study that they published, and they tested different puffing regimes too, including some extremes like 110 milliliter volume, 14 puffs per stick. And here are the results from the company, comparing IQOS with a 3R4F cigarette. In terms of aldehydes, in this case formaldehyde and acetaldehyde, the results are per stick, so per 12 puffs, and per cigarette. One cigarette, usually you consume it in less than 10 puffs under Health Canada intense regime. So it's one stick, one cigarette, and you can see there is a big difference. About 10 times for formaldehyde, about 8 times, 7 to 8 times for acetaldehyde, about 15 times for acrolein, and quite a big difference also for nitrosamines. In this case, I just presented it. And then there are more data in this paper for several other toxins like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, metals, and so on. But a recent study identified very small differences. Much lower than what the company is presenting in their studies. I think one of the main problems in this study is the underestimation of the levels of aldehyde emissions from tobacco cigarettes. So the levels that you see here, for example, acrolein 1.1, acetaldehyde 600, formaldehyde 4.3, they are very low compared to literature data. And for example, here I have data from the study by Counts, who used something, I think, 50 or 55 tobacco cigarettes from the market, including the 3R4F. And these are the levels that Counts, that's the average of all these 50 products compared to what our is presenting at the JAMA research letter. And there is a difference between past literature data and the our study, so I'm not sure if there was something wrong in their measurements with tobacco cigarettes, but the levels they report are quite low. And for acrolein also very, very low compared to other literature data. But who believes the tobacco industry today or for the next 10 years? No one, of course. So we need to use our own data. So we have done a study analyzing aldehyde emissions from IQOS compared to e-cigarettes and to tobacco cigarettes, because that's the right thing to do. And here are our results compared to the PMI data. And they are pretty much identical, but we didn't do the study in a PMI lab. We did it in our own lab in Greece. So these are data from the Health Canada intense regime per stick, per 12 puffs, comparing the PMI data from the study I showed you previously and our data, which I got a couple of weeks ago. And they are pretty similar for formaldehyde, pretty similar. Ours are a bit lower for acetaldehyde, identical for acrolein. These are the mean values from 5 repetitions that we did. The standard deviations were quite good, so we didn't have an issue of inconsistencies in the, within the repetitions. So it looks like PMI is telling the truth. Sooner or later we would have found out in any case, so I don't see a reason why they would lie, but if you speak to Stan Glantz, you have to tell him that you don't trust the data. I think it's extremely important to have independent data. I think the company also needs independent data to verify them because they know that their reputation is not the best. Now, the comparison between IQOS and e-cigarettes, two, I think, very popular, IQOS will be, I think, very popular harm reduction products. Now, the comparison depends on what e-cigarette you're going to use, a first generation with a cartomizer, a prefilled cartomizer, or a tank system, a low or a high power device, a device with silica or with cotton wick. You're going to be surprised that the higher power devices produce less levels of toxicants compared to the older generation devices. And also it depends on the puffing conditions, whether you're using realistic or you're using something which is completely crazy. And here I used, of course, data from different studies, but the comparison between, okay, don't mind. The comparison between IQOS and the 14-watt cigarette is from our study, so it's been done in the same lab, under the same conditions, the same equipment, so these are comparable. And that's how we're going to publish them. And you can see for formaldehyde, the first bar on the left, as you see it, is the study I published in 2015 in addiction, comparing realistic versus dry puff conditions, and those were the realistic conditions on 10 watts. Using, at that time, a silica wick. Then is the IQOS result, and these are results per 12 puffs also for e-cigarettes. Then it's the e-cigarette with a cotton wick at 14 watts, a lot of nicotine delivery, 14 watts was quite high. And then you have the e-cigarettes when you create dry puff, and that's not the lowest level. You can find much higher levels because basically you can control how much aldehydes you can produce. For acetaldehyde again, I think it's characteristic that with e-cigarettes, and especially the new generation ones, even if you use a high power setting, you are seeing much lower levels, but also there is a big difference between the tobacco cigarette and the IQOS, as I showed previously. So, but e-cigarettes seem to perform better in terms of thermal degradation products like carbonyls. For acrolein also, with the new generation device of e-cigarettes, in many cases we are finding levels which are below the limit of quantification. So they're between LOD and LOQ, which makes it difficult to accurately quantify them. But we need to give a number because we need to publish the study and show the numbers. I think that one of the big revolutions in the e-cigarette development was the transition from silica to cotton. And for those companies who, probably big tobacco companies who are using silica still, I think they should transition as soon as possible to cotton, with the disadvantage that cotton has, like it's not fireproof. For nitrosamines, basically with e-cigarettes you cannot measure nitrosamines in the aerosol unless you generate a lot of aerosol, because they are such low levels that you cannot detect them in the aerosol. You can measure nitrosamines in the liquid, but you will find something like 1, 2, 3, 5 nanograms per gram of liquid, and that's why you can't measure in the aerosol. With IQOS, there are a bit more, but still, as you can see here, there's a big difference between IQOS and tobacco cigarettes, something like 40 times, 30, 25 times difference. And this has been reflected in data in a study using biomarkers of exposure, and that was a clinical confinement for 5 days only. So even within 5 days, there was a substantial reduction. This is the proportion after use of IQOS compared to the use of combustible cigarettes. And you can see that, of course, for nicotine, they could get the same amount of nicotine, but by using more intensively the IQOS compared to the tobacco cigarettes. But for toxicants, biomarkers like nitrosamine biomarkers, aldehyde biomarkers, you can see that there are differences, and there are reductions from 60 up to 94% for SPMA, for example. It's just 6% of what was present in combustible tobacco cigarettes. And another issue is metals, where I think e-cigarettes perform worse. And that's because e-cigarettes are metallic structures. Basically, they are composed of metals. This is not, again, a direct comparison. I used literature data from another study on metals and what the company is reporting on metal emissions and their measurements on tobacco cigarettes. So you see that the e-cigarettes, you see that the e-cigarettes are releasing a bit more metals than the IQOS, and in some cases, only in the case of nickel, lower than tobacco cigarettes, but still the levels even in e-cigarettes are quite low. So in conclusion, heated tobacco product is an old and initially failed concept, but there is now new development and new products, not only from the company that we presented, but also from other companies. They pretty much resemble the tobacco cigarette in use patterns. So you need to consume the tobacco stick once you activate the device. With IQOS, you need to recharge the battery for 5 minutes to be reused or to have a second battery. There is no visible side stream smoke. But there is a bad smell, which is very similar to smoking. That could be an advantage in terms of the flavoring perception for a smoker. There is some side stream smell. I've experienced that in the lab. If I'm sitting within 1 meter distance from IQOS, I can smell something coming out. So probably there are some emissions. We don't know what type of emissions they are, but there may be something which is not visible, but you can smell it. I think that the products, having tested them and being a smoker myself in the past, they have lower throat heat compared to tobacco cigarettes, which could be a disadvantage for some smokers. It seems from the data that they have significantly lower toxic emissions than smoking, but higher than new generation e-cigarettes used under realistic conditions. And they seem, in my opinion, based on these characteristics, the safety but also the functional and performance characteristics, they seem to represent a harm reduction option for dual users and or smokers who have tried and have abandoned the cigarette use because they failed to quit or reduce smoking. I don't think they will be satisfactory for e-cigarette users. They have a completely different experience with the flavors, and I think that it will not match someone. And we do need, and that's very important, not only for this product, but for all heated tobacco products, we do need independent studies, and I think that companies also need independent studies in order to verify their very good science, but not with a good reputation due to the past mistakes. Thank you very much.